Welcome to the Brain Over Binge podcast, where you learn a simple, brain-based approach to ending binge eating. I'm Kathyrn Hansen. I'm the author of Brain Over Binge and the Brain Over Binge Recovery Guide, and I want to thank you for being here and for taking the time to support yourself in recovery. In today's episode, Coach Julie is here, and we're going to focus on untangling some common thoughts you may have as you try to stop binge eating. During urges to binge, you may find yourself thinking, I just don't care anymore, or it doesn't even matter, or I deserve this, as if binging is a reward or a source of good things for you. You might also hear the false message that you don't deserve to overcome binging, or that recovery is not something that you're worthy of. You're definitely not alone in this. These thoughts serve to perpetuate so many cases of binge eating and other harmful habits and addictions. In this episode, we'll help you learn how to recognize these thoughts, understand them, and ultimately stop giving them value and attention so that you can stop acting on them. You'll also learn how to reconnect with the part of yourself that does deeply care, and we'll teach you how to start believing that without a doubt you deserve recovery. Hi, Julie. Welcome back.
Hi, Kathyrn. So good to be with you.
Awesome. We are going to be talking about a topic today that's been coming up a lot in coaching. We're going to call it You Do Care and You Do Deserve It. So, Julie,
That's
why
right.
don't you just set us up for this conversation?
Yeah, it's a lesson that I created for the group because I feel as if a very common or two very common lower brain permission giving thoughts are, I just don't care. And also, I deserve this. I deserve this. Right. And I think it would be great for us to talk about untangling these thoughts because the truth is that we very much do care, all of us, we with our higher brains, and we do deserve recovery, but binging isn't something anybody deserves.
There's a lot to unpack here for sure. It's something, that I hear a lot that I definitely thought for myself when I was binging. It's such a lower brain thing to say you don't care because that's really not the part of your brain that cares about your long-term goals, about your long-term health, about what's really best for your well-being. It only cares about getting what you want in the moment or what it thinks you need in that moment. So in the moments of urges, you're kind of going to feel like you don't care, but that's just because that part of the brain is operating. So it's about really writing that out. And then suddenly your higher brain comes back online and you remember, oh gosh, I do care. And thank goodness I didn't binge.
Yeah, I mean, if you catch yourself beforehand and
Yeah.
then obviously afterwards, you're always going, oh my God, why did I do this? I can't believe I did that again. So clearly you do care. Moments after a binge, you realize how much you really do care. And also, if you're listening to this podcast, if you read Kathyrn's amazing books, if you're a part of our communities, caring is why you're here, right? Caring is why you're doing this work. You care about recovery very, very, very much. Your higher brain cares about it. Future you cares about it. What you truly want for yourself, like that's all about how much you really do care about it. And so in that moment, when your lower brain is seeking pleasure, right, it forgets or it's trying to dissuade you from the truth, which is that you really do care.
Yeah, and I think I agree with you that if someone is here listening to this podcast, you care, you want to recover. And I don't think, kind of what I said before, you're not going to feel that in every moment. So if there's certain times that you've had this thought come up that I don't care, it doesn't really mean you don't care. You can have a thought saying you don't care, and that means nothing about what you feel about recovery overall. So are there times that people may need to do some work as far as wanting to recover or as far as getting in touch with their reasons for recovery? Like, absolutely. Can there be situations where people actually don't care overall? Yes, and that's a different solution. But I think all the people here listening to this podcast trying to recover, you're already there. You already care. You're already ready. And these thoughts that say you don't, that's just that junk from your brain.
That's right. Yeah. Yeah. And I mean, the thing is that when you care about something like recovery, right, it's an active process. So as you just said, you're going to need to tap into your true whys and be very, very, very clear on those and go 7 layers deep, like why? Keep asking, like the 5 whys exercises that everybody does, right? Because you want to know, right? Like beyond a shadow of a doubt, why do you care so much? And I encourage people, create your why, record it in your voice, listen to it multiple times throughout the day, especially early on in your recovery, so that you're very wedded with it. Because invariably you'll have an urge and your lower brain may spit out that all too common, I just don't care. And that's the moment to tap back into that big why,
Yeah.
because you really do care. And also, the more you practice listening to your why and having it there, the easier it'll be to access when the lower brain sounds very loud.
Yeah, it's like building up strength in your higher brain and within your true self of what you truly want, what you truly care about. And then when you hear that lower brain thought, you're more ready to dismiss it, more ready to separate from it. You'll see it as, oh, that's totally not me because I've spent all this time really reinforcing why I do care and who I want to be and why I don't want to binge. So it really does start to sound like complete nonsense from your brain.
Exactly, exactly. And even like if you're listening to this podcast and if you're doing this work, just knowing that you want to be onto your brain, anytime you hear, I don't care, like just flipping it and going, yeah, actually, I do care.
Mhm.
And also, it's very empowering to see that you can flip it. You can flip that thought. You have the power to not latch on to every thought your brain spits out and to be ready for that thought to arise and see that as a moment of power.
Yeah, and kind of noticing when you have this thought pop up in other areas of life and how you kind of just don't take it seriously. Like if your alarm goes off in the
Mhm.
morning and you need to get up for work, and your brain might say, I don't care. But you still make yourself get up, and there's a
That's
part
right.
of you that might want to sleep in and you just don't. So it's the same thing of realizing that having a temporary thought that you don't care doesn't mean you can't follow through with what you know you care about.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And, like I did a whole lesson on, how to feel like it, right?
Hmm.
Because you don't need to feel like it to do it. But you do need to be aware that your brain's going to tell you, I don't care. I don't feel like it. I don't want to. Again, I deserve this, right? Like it's all some flavor of that. And it's just being so committed to that why and that future vision of you and what you really want for yourself long term. You use that as a cue to access that in that moment. And maybe also remembering the aftermath of the binge,
Hmm.
right? Like binging never brings peace, it only brings regret. There's so much mess to clean up physically, emotionally, psychically, in so many ways, right? And so it's also taking it one step further, going there, remembering that.
Yeah, and I think something I wanted to add is that I think this I don't care thought pops up a lot when life is really hard otherwise, in ways that have nothing to do with binging. You have a terrible day, everything's going bad, you're super stressed, super anxious, super depressed, and your brain's like, I don't care. I want to binge. And I think that's why
Yeah.
it's so important not to equate recovery with happiness or everything going well. Like a binge free day, it's amazing in so many ways as far as like you get access to yourself again, you get all these benefits, but a lot of times it's just a normal hard day or a
Right.
really hard day. And I think it's so important when you step back and you say recovery doesn't mean I'm going to be happy all the time. Recovery doesn't mean I'm going to feel good all the time.
Right.
That I think gives you a defense against this I don't care thought because you're not equating recovery with happiness. So it's like, oh, I don't care, everything's going bad, I should just binge. Well, binging has nothing to do with how I feel during my day. So I
Right.
can more easily dismiss that thought, and I hope that's kind of making sense.
Absolutely. I mean, it does come up a lot in moments of despair, heartache, sadness, grief, overwhelm, large amounts of stress, all of those things, right? Because again, the lower brain is seeing danger, danger, danger. And this is a familiar pattern, right? Like in the past, you've been in fight or flight mode, you've used binging, not that it solves the problem, but that's been a go-to. So your brain is like, oh, you're in danger. I know food will help this. But the truth is, every single time, binging always and only makes everything worse. So you take a bad day, you take a bad period of life, you take grief, you take distress, you take overwhelm, you take calamity, and you add binging to it, and you've just added a whole nother layer of hurt. life has so many ups and downs. Being binge free does not ensure that your life is going to be amazing, but it does ensure that whatever arises, you're going to be better able to access ideas, solutions, resources to fix it.
Yeah. And all of you listening, and I know me and you we've all tested this theory of like, does a binge help in really difficult moments? And it just doesn't. Like you say, it
Yeah.
always makes everything worse. So it would be one conversation if like it actually helped, but it doesn't. It just doesn't help. So this I don't care
Yeah.
thought that pops up in these really hard moments, it's not there to help you at all. And the more you just see
Yeah.
that that voice has nothing to do with your well-being, it doesn't care about you. It just cares about getting what it wants in that moment. You have to be the one to care about you. You have to be the one to say, this voice cares nothing about my future. It doesn't care how I'm going to feel in an hour. It only cares about now. You have to be the one who cares about your future and tomorrow.
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, our lower brains are the best lawyers in town. They're going to fit any situation to accommodate, to accommodate that moment and make it sound very compelling. But you with your higher brain know what you really want for yourself. And so it's about figuring that out. And again, being ready for those thoughts to come. I mean, I think
Yeah.
also, talking about like difficult moments, that's where I think it can also show up as, I deserve this, which
Yeah.
is, ironic because again, it's like we do deserve good things, right? But binging is not the good thing. What we deserve is peace and freedom and proper nourishment and recovery, not harm, not self-harm.
Yeah, it's such an interesting thought. And I think that's also why it's important to realize that any thought that encourages binging, regardless of like the specifics of what it's saying, any thought should be dismissed. But it does help, as we're doing here, to go through each thought and explain why it isn't true. And this one is so interesting because this whole I deserve it, I think it can go one of two ways. And I'm hoping we can talk about it from both directions. Is what you just said is like, I deserve it, as in, it's a treat or it will make me feel better, it will somehow help, and I deserve that good thing, which, as we've talked about so far, it's not a good thing. And then it also can be in the other direction of like, I deserve it because I deserve to be punished. I deserve to hurt myself. I deserve not to have good things. And I've heard that more in coaching a little bit as like, and I've done a podcast about binging as a form of self-punishment, and I'll link that one in the show description. I'm not exactly sure which number it is, but yeah, I mean, let's start with that first one that you started with is like, I deserve it, as something that's good, as something that will help me, relieve stress or calm down from a hard day or something like that.
What we deserve is to wake up without regret, right? To feel at peace with food, to feel at peace with our bodies, to trust ourselves. That's what we deserve,
Yeah.
right? We deserve to take proper rest with full permission and full pleasure. We deserve breaks, right? Because a lot of times it's like, I had such a hard day. I deserve this. Yeah, you deserve a break. You deserve to put your feet up. You deserve love. You deserve whatever support you need in a moment. You deserve lots of good things. But binging, nobody deserves binging because, again, binging is always a form of self-harm.
Mhm.
Um, it's completely destructive. It leaves nothing good in its wake, and it just ensures that the urges are going to come back bigger and stronger.
Yeah.
So what we deserve is self-care, or at least not binging in the moment. That's what we really deserve.
I think a good way to see through this thought of like, I deserve it and it's going to help me in some way is to realize that if you truly did just deserve a break, if you felt like you really needed a break, you would be open to other things to give you that break. And the lower brain is
Mm,
specifically trained on the binge. Like it's specifically saying you deserve this binge as a form of, break or whatever. So I think like once you see that, it's like, oh, that's just my lower brain trying to trick me, saying I deserve a break because I'm not even open to any other form of a break. Any other form of a break feels completely unsatisfying. So that is just the habit. If it was truly
right.
about giving yourself something you deserve, you'd be open to a wide variety of things. And once you do learn to dismiss that urge for the habitual behavior, then you open yourself up to that wide variety of things that you can actually get, like you were talking about, what you deserve in terms of a real break, right? But you have to be able to
Mm.
dismiss that urge for that habitual behavior before you can do things that actually help.
Interesting. Right. Yes. Very good point. And I think also another thing, and maybe this ties into then the other point that you made about seeking self-harm almost through binging. I think one of the things that I work on a lot with the group and with my one-on-one clients, and maybe you do as well, is this idea that like you're worth recovery now, right? Your worth isn't defined by your size or your shape or what you ate yesterday or what you ate this morning. Right now, you are worthy of recovery in the body that you're in the size and shape that you're in. And I do think that like that is something that needs to be established at the get-go, because it is a leap of faith to start eating adequately and dismissing urges or expecting and allowing urges, right? Like there is a leap of faith required a lot of the time. There can be fear, there can be even grief about giving up, these patterns. And some of it comes from like, I'll do recovery when I'm a certain size. I'll do recovery when, like I'll do the brain over binge strategies when, right? And we've talked about that before, like all the yeah buts, right? But you don't earn your worth. You are already worthy 100% as you are right now, right? And so you already deserve to feel well, to have true pleasure in your life, to care, to truly tap into what you really care about yourself. And so I think that those things are tied together, and that might also be connected to what you were talking about with if there isn't that underlying foundational belief of your own inherent self-worth. So then doing things that abuse yourself or hurt yourself, right? Like that can be connected.
Yeah. Yeah. And of course, like having that desire to harm yourself is something to take seriously. And in that self-punishment podcast, I put that like, if you're having desires for self-harm, please seek professional help regarding that. But I do think this thought can become very habitual. And it ties a lot into what you were just saying. Like, I'll deserve recovery when I'm a certain weight. I'll deserve recovery when I figure out these other things in my life. Like, I don't deserve it now. I don't deserve to feel well. And that's a binge encouraging thought. And even if maybe you felt like it had some truth in the past for you, because maybe it was a time when your self worth was really low, but it does become habitual. Any thought that leads to binging gets wired in the brain. So right now it could just be that permission giving thought. And again, you don't want
Right.
to ignore thoughts of self harm and always get proper help, but consider the possibility that you can have this thought and not act on it. And when you don't act on it, you really start to feel like you deserve more. Like, I think the irony
Right.
here is that when you binge, it makes you feel terrible about yourself. It makes you feel like you
Sure.
don't deserve good things. It makes you feel like your life is almost impossible.
Right.
And so hold out the possibility that you could have this thought, I don't deserve recovery, and still not act on the urge. And as you don't act on the urge, you start to feel more and more like you deserve recovery, because when you stop
That's so
binging, you
true.
start to feel better.
Yeah.
You start to see the light, right?
Oh my God, 100%. I mean, again, it's that whole thing of like, take a leap of faith, trust us, borrow our belief in you. You don't need to feel like recovery right now. You don't need to feel like you deserve it. You don't need to feel worthy, because as you do it, you'll see it when you believe it, right? Like or you'll, whatever Wayne Dyer said. But,
Yeah.
it's this idea that like, as you start doing the things, you act your way into feeling. So a little bit of fake it till you make it, but the more days, the more time you live binge free, the more you feel like yourself again, right?
Yeah.
You're back in your integrity, because binging is so out of integrity with everyone. There's nobody listening to this who's like, oh, I'm so glad I binged, right? And there's nobody listening who doesn't binge and wishes that they had. But also, as you don't binge, you get to tap into that real you, the you with your higher brain. And it feels and it builds over time. It compounds. The value compounds over time.
Yeah. And I think, being honest here, everyone, like even without a binging habit, probably has moments that they feel like just really bad about themselves, that they don't deserve good things, that they maybe did something they regret and they feel like they don't even deserve to be happy. We've all had those thoughts, and you can have those thoughts and still not do harmful things to yourself. And that ties back into what I was saying, recovery doesn't equate to happiness, recovery also doesn't equate to feeling great about yourself all the time and that you deserve all the good things. And it does take a leap of faith, like you were talking about, to be like, oh, I'm going to have this thought and not act on it and see what happens. Just be curious. If you can't flip the thought to, I deserve good things right now, that's understandable. You always talk about like picking a believable thought that seems realistic to you. And right now, it may not seem realistic to you to think, I deserve all these amazing things. I deserve recovery. I deserve all the benefits. But if you could just be curious, like, what if I don't act on the next urge? How could my life get better? How could I start to believe that I deserve recovery?
Yeah. And it's an active process. Shifting beliefs, a belief is just a thought that you think over and over and over and over again, and they're all optional. So you might as well start telling a new one. And, if it's not available to you to say, I deserve recovery, I'm 100% worthy, it could be, I'm open to believing I'm worthy of recovery. I'm learning that I'm worthy of recovery, those kinds of things. And I found the Wayne Dyer quote because it was going to bother me. But, one of the things he says is change the way you look at things and the things you look at change. Right. And that's what we're talking about here.
Yeah. And anyone who stops binging never regrets it and never thinks, oh, that's what I really deserved, was to be back in that binging habit. No, like you're so thankful to just be done with it. Like even if life is so hard and even if it just kind of feels normal, but just without the binging, like no one ever says, oh no, binging is a life I deserved. Like that is a thought that is really tied up with that perpetuation of the habit. And just believe and trust that that thought is going to go away. The more and more days that you are binge free, it's just going to fade away and you'll never think that you deserve that. And I think in either way, like you'll never think you deserved it as a form of self-punishment. And you'll also think you never deserved it in a way that made you feel good. Like you'll never look back at your binging days and say, oh yeah, that's what I really deserved because that was amazing. No, you'll never think that. So like both ways that we're looking at this I deserve it thought, it's going to fade away.
That's right. Exactly.
Yeah. Anything else to add to this conversation?
No, I think we've really explored it. I'll just say that like these are the things that we work on all the time in the group. So come and join us there if you want more support with this, because, this is kind of a teaser of the lessons that I teach and the kind of support you can get there. And then it's great to be working with a whole community of people who are untangling these stories and refuting these permission-giving thoughts. And so, come and get support.
Yeah, and this podcast is coming out in time for you to join Julie's lesson about this topic on Sunday at 10 a.m. Eastern. And it's just amazing to go through this with other people because Julie's always interacting with people in the chat and bringing in everyone's comments and questions and really addressing everyone's individual needs. So it could be a really powerful experience if you resonated with this topic.
Thank you, Kathyrn.
Awesome. And the link to join the group will be in the show description. It's brainoverbinge.com/group. And so thank you so much, Julie. This was a really helpful conversation.
Thank you, Kathyrn. Always good to be with you.
Thank you for listening to our conversation. I hope this episode has helped you start to separate yourself from the lower brain's false messages and reconnect with how much you actually care and how much you actually deserve to be free of this struggle. If you're listening at the time this episode is released, the group call with Julie that addresses this topic is happening this Sunday, June 22nd at 10 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. When you join the Brain Over Binge group, you can start getting support on the forum right away. You can join that live call and also attend weekly coaching calls with Julie on a continuing basis, as well as monthly Q&A calls with me. You'll also get access to the full library of past group calls, and this is a very extensive library and it continues to grow as a powerful resource for your recovery. And again, the link to join the group is in the show description, and you can find the other Brain Over Binge resources there as well, including one-on-one coaching with Coach Julie or myself, the online course, and also my 2 books. I hope you have a great weekend, and I hope you'll join again next time. I know that you care, and I hope that you start to believe it. I also want to encourage you and remind you that you have the power to change your brain and live a binge-free life. The Brain Over Binge podcast is produced and recorded by Brain Over Binge Recovery Coaching, LLC. All work is copyrighted by Brain Over Binge Recovery Coaching, LLC, and all rights are reserved. As a disclaimer, the hosts of the Brain Over Binge podcast are not professional counselors or licensed healthcare providers, and this podcast is not a substitute for medical advice or any form of professional therapy. Eating disorders can have serious health consequences, and you are strongly advised to seek medical attention for matters relating to your health. Please get help when you need it, and good luck on your journey.